Who will protect my children? 10 key observations. Introduction. The journey of exploration into our creativity as a result of the request, "Who will protect my children?" revealed 10 key observations. Each is discussed elsewhere in separate recordings or embedded within other recordings. They are provided here as a one-stop walk away with these key concepts. The 10 concepts are: our creative spirit and its heartfelt passion, the existence of our life path and our reason for incarnating, the nature of the human mind and its limitation to perceive and comprehend creation, the issues the human mind faces in truly original creative endeavors, the need to hold our creativity sacred and allow ourselves to explore options, the orchestration within creation and our individual role to play, the uniqueness and subjectivity of our perception and the need to discern our personal truth. Everything created by humans arose from a single thought from an individual's unique subjective perception. The illusion of the human mind. The need to understand the journey of exploration into our creativity, for it reflects aspects we all face in our life. Our creative spirit and its heartfelt passion. The single most important yet unexpected observation made in the exploration of our creativity is that within each of us is an energy within us that is best described as a unique creative spirit or unique creative life-giving energy. It is experienced as a heartfelt passion that energizes our life. It is felt as a desire to create something dear to our heart, or can be felt as a deep longing in our heart that pulls us towards something in creation. This creative spirit or life-giving creative energy is found at the core of our being. Our awareness lies cloaked or entwined within this creative spirit. It can be experienced as our awareness seeking an experience of creation. It became very clear that this creative spirit which lies in each heart is very dear and special to its creator. If followed, it will allow us to align with our life path that our Creator has ordained or planned for our life. The creative spirit is what our awareness is using to energize its human experience. It will guide us through life if we are willing to listen to it. It is the essence of who and what we each are at the deepest level of our being as a human being. It can be called our authentic self. It has been localized symbolically in the heart, but it also can be felt in the heart of the body we inhabit. It is most often experienced as a deep heartfelt passion catalyzing our life, pulling or pushing us into a particular direction in life. It is what energizes us and gives us life. Our challenge is to allow it to freely flow out. This challenge in life is to learn what serves and does not serve us to give us the fullness of being and inner satisfaction in life. This creative spirit is an energy, for it gives us the ability to make things happen. It is a spirit, for it has an existence unto itself, and it is creative. It cannot not create. This creative spirit within each of us has something it wants to create and experience in physical creation through our body. This creative spirit is the source of our creative power and creative ability. It is energized and catalyzed by this creative life energy which flows from the source of creation. It is our direct link with the source of creation. Alignment with the flow of this creative life energy is alignment with the source of creation. When we are mentally aligned with the flow of our creative life energy found within this creative spirit, we are in alignment with the source. This creative life energy is the water of life and nourishes all of our creative needs. It is what supplies the creative life energy and passion that catalyzes all our creative actions and our life to create what we desire. It influences all that we do. As previously said, our challenge is to allow it to freely flow out. Alignment with the creative passion is the source of our inner bliss, inner satisfaction with life and joy. Alignment with the flow of the creative life energy emanating from our creative spirit is to live and express our authentic self. It reflects who we are at our deepest level. That is, we are our creator and our body is the vehicle we chose in our current life. If this creative spirit is free to unfold and properly nurtured, it will blossom and reveal the unique gifts we incarnated to give. Its free and unfettered unfoldment is what allows for an inner satisfaction with life that never runs dry, no matter what is happening in life. If we are unable to live and express this passion to a sufficient degree, we will feel something in life is missing and may even feel an outright pain, and that life is somehow not worth living. In seeking to look outward to try and address what seems to be missing, no solution is found, for what is missing is inside of us. That is, something within us associated with our creative spirit and its heartfelt passion is unexpressed for whatever reason it may be. To help individuals access their creative spirit and their heartfelt passion, the discerning personal truth and calibrating your compass exercises were created and guidance provided as to learning to navigate from the heart. The existence of our life path and our reason for incarnating. It became clear in the journey of exploration of our creativity, each of us have a life path which leads to an improvisational journey, for we do have a free will in how we will respond to what that journey provides. Our life path encompasses our reason for incarnating and the unique gifts and talents we have to give. Some call this life path a blueprint for our life. Others talk about pre-planning choices or our contracts for our life. Additionally, we are provided an internal compass to keep us aligned with our life path if we learn how to listen to the internal guidance it provides. Relative to the life we live, if someone asked us, "What is your life really about?" we would reply with our life story. There would be a story we tell about our life and the events we experience that reflect what we think our life is about. However, what our life is really all about can best be described as that of the story of the honeybee. If you would ask a honeybee, "What is the story of your life?" it would probably tell you a story about making honey. It would go into the discussion of the issues and the problems it faces in flying to the flowers to get the nectar and the pollen, and then flying back to deposit in the hive. It will probably tell us how successful it felt in what it gathered, or how disappointed it was at not being able to get all that it desired. We could be assured it would tell us about the issues in the hive and how the queen showed favoritism. Then again, the honeybee may be perfectly content in everything that happens, for it does not have a human mind to think about such things and make such judgments. However, no matter what story the honeybee tells and how it tells its story does not reflect the accuracy of all that the honeybee does. The story would most probably not tell us about how it pollinates the flowers in the process of gathering nectar and pollen to make honey. That piece would only be seen if one steps back beyond the perspective of the bee and making honey. It is to stand back and ask the question, is there something that occurs in this process of gathering nectar and pollen to make honey? So too our lives and the story we tell. We are like the honeybee. Our lives are orchestrated by creation within a larger picture, like the honeybee pollinating the flowers as it does its job of gathering nectar and pollen for the hive. In the same way the honeybee is following its internal guidance, which may be called instinct, it does its job within the larger orchestration of creation and the role it elected to play in unawareness. So too all of us. If we follow our internal guidance, which is much more than what the word instinct implies, we perform what role we have within the larger orchestration of creation. However, our mind perceives things differently. Our mind sees our life from the perspective of the life we are living and how that life affects us personally here and now, and how it perceives itself to fit into the world and what success looks like in the world. Our human mind rarely sees how we are impacting our environment and those in our environment, and if there is a larger, more encompassing journey we are on that transcends our particular life. Yet, there are things our lives impact of which we have no knowledge or understanding. The story we tell will not accurately reflect who and what we are and what we are really doing with and in our lives. It is only in telling the whole story and then standing back and looking at the story, its context, and its interaction with all the other pieces that we can begin to see our true journey in life. If we are observant and able to truly talk to the individuals whose lives our life touches, we can begin to see the true depth and breadth of what our life causes or is the occasion to happen or not happen, as the case may be. The more we follow our internal guidance and stand back to look, the more we can begin to see the true reason why we're here. What is interesting is many individuals who report having a near-death experience report of a past life review. In this review, some report seeing how their life affected others, even from the perspective of the other. But we need not die to have such a review. We can do it at any time in our life if we are able to stand back from taking our life personally and look at the actual interactions to see what is happening. To see this larger picture, one needs to be willing to pull the string and look at the chain of events that led to the experience one has. Then look inward to see what decisions and choices we made and why they correspond to the external chains of events. Here it is appropriate to talk about an important aspect of our life path. Our life path is analogous to the task the honeybee does in pollinating the flowers. The job of the honeybee is to gather nectar and pollen, and it is not obvious it is also about pollinating the flowers. Our life path is what we accomplish when we live our life based upon our internal compass, regardless of how we are being pulled to different experiences in our life and what we would call our job, our family, our social life, and the like. We never need consciously become aware of our life path and what it accomplishes, but we can feel it with our internal compass and the internal satisfaction and expansion of our being it provides at any time. The nature of the human mind and its limitation to perceive and comprehend creation. What became clear was the limitation of the human mind and seeing how creation does not work the way our human mind thinks and the inability of our human mind to fully grasp and understand it. Analogously, it was like standing on top of a high mountain, seeing an entire valley below in complete clarity, but realizing many of the objects, features, and the like in the valley could not be described, for they were never experienced. The experience, perception, beliefs, and the like were inadequate. Many features were and are indescribable and paradoxical to the human mind and simply beyond the human experience. This is one of the first major issues with the human mind, is that anything that is communicated by a human is filtered by the human mind and its limitations. As such, anything can only be described in physical terms and limited by the physical experience the human being has had. So one problem with the human mind is that the human mind only knows the past and cannot know what an original, never before experienced creation looks like, for it has never been previously experienced. The experience of a truly original, never before experienced creation causes the human mind to face the unknown, and this gives rise to the anxiety of the unknown and uncertainty in knowing what is unfolding. A second problem is the human mind does not see the whole picture. A simple example is you witness an individual being held at gunpoint. Obviously, the individual is being robbed, for the individual takes out their wallet out of their pocket and hands the wallet over to the other individual holding the gun, who takes the money out of the wallet. However, if you see around the corner a director with a film crew, you realize you were witness the filming of a movie scene. Instantaneously, you realize your original perception and analysis of the situation was incorrect. But if you never saw the movie crew, you would always believe the individual was being robbed. This is how our mind works for every observation it makes. We draw conclusions about what we observe based upon our subjective perspective of what we are observing. Normally, we never question our interpretations of our observations. So here the problem is we believe our perceptions are correct when we do not see the bigger picture of what is occurring as we make our subjective conclusions. Additionally, what became clear was the way our awareness, when within a human body, looks out into creation and perceives creation from within our body. Our human mind leads our awareness to believe creation works a certain way. That is, the way we see it. Quite simply, the human mind believes what it experiences internally or externally, and how it interprets what it perceives as correct. When I say it perceives, how it interprets what it experiences as correct goes well beyond being right. Rather, it's more about believing, how could I be wrong? The human mind tends to think the equivalent of, quote, I have no evidence, prior experience, or understanding to think otherwise. The human mind has no reason to think its interpretation is wrong or could be in error. A third issue is, if what is experienced has not been previously experienced, the human mind will try and create what could be called a best fit understanding based on its past experience, attachments, and expectations, and of course what it thinks and believes. That is, the human mind will use analogies, metaphors, similes, stories, fables, allegories, personifications, symbolism, and whatever other methods it can devise to try and understand and communicate what has been seen and experienced. This includes the human mind's seemingly incessant desire to personify creation or aspects of creation, for example, experiencing an energy and personifying as channeling, spirit guides, and the like. You name it, we personify it. The human mind has difficulty seeing information as energy, and energy contains information, and whatever energy we experience, in whatever form we experience it, we seek to interpret it. The human mind then tends to believe its best fit understanding and explanation is correct, and ends up taking its analogies, metaphors, and the like as literally correct, rather than stay in the uncertainty and the unknown of its approximations. Here again, there is also the issue that if what the human mind tries to describe, and that something has elements of the unseen, any physical description will be inadequate to either describe it or explain it, including any analogies, metaphors, or the like that are used. A fourth issue is the fact that the human mind is in physical creation and is rather arrogant as to its perception of importance in creation and what it thinks it knows about creation. Here we can use the analogy with the limitations of analogies. Consider three phases of water: ice, liquid water, and steam. Creation can be seen to be made up of all the forms of water: steam, liquid, and ice. In this analogy, we look at physical creation being made up only of liquid water, and is only about liquid water and the liquid form of water. Steam and ice in this analogy are seen as what makes up the non-physical realm. Being human in physical creation, we can then look at all that can be observed about liquid water. We can come to know and understand how liquid water works, but what can be observed tells us nothing about how steam and ice works, for they exist in the unseen. To understand how steam and ice work, one has to somehow leave the world of liquid water. But humans say all arises out of the same stuff of creation, so that which is not physical will act like liquid water. We assume the unseen of steam and ice act like liquid water. There is an old adage, as above, so below, as within, as without, that many believe. However, nothing can be farther from the truth. We fail to see how much anything observed and experienced about the unseen that is attempted to be explained by the humans, and how we interpret what is seen can be incorrect. We may get glimmers about the unseen, but they are ultimately inadequate to explain the unseen. For example, we can say there's something vaporous above the physical like steam above the water, and something solid below the physical like ice below water, but knowing this does not tell us how the steam and ice work. All we know is how liquid water works. It is important to note here that all that is communicated by any human has been filtered by a human mind and is at best a good approximation. This means everything from anyone. Unfortunately, we do not know what is communicated has been approximated. Similarly, what is reported here has been filtered by my human mind and is its unique perceptions and experiences. As such, I fully expect others to see differently, but then I would challenge them to do their own experiments and see what understanding they personally access about the nature of creation and how much they believe what others tell them. One way that seems to work around the human mind's limitations for any story mind creates about what is being observed is to ponder the energy given rise to the experience we have through what we feel. To stay in what we feel allows us to be open to what we experience without mind biasing what we are experiencing. That is, feel the energy and not interpret it. Similarly, knowing what anything reported to us has been biased by a human mind, we can look to see if what we are hearing is resonating within us. That is, do we feel the connection with what is being reported, or is it hollow or even inaccurate words? There is a deep, profound awareness within each of us, and we know what is true for us and for our personal physical journey if we pay attention. The issues the human mind faces in a truly original creative endeavor. To create means to bring something into existence. To create something lies on a spectrum. At one end of the spectrum is to create a copy of something which already exists. At the other end of the spectrum is something completely new and truly original, never before seen or experienced. The role of mind changes dramatically as one moves across this spectrum. If a copy of something is to be created, our mind is very important, for it needs to provide all the details to manifest the exact copy. However, if it is something new and truly original, never before seen or experienced at the opposite end of the spectrum, our mind has no reference as to what to expect or what it should look like. Hence, mind is of little value. Our mind can guess, it can extrapolate, it can do experiments to see what works or does not work, but it does not know. It may know the attributes of what it desires or mind wants to bring into existence, but it is not and cannot know what it will look like. Our mind cannot know, for what is being created has never before existed and been experienced. Additionally, it needs to be noted, our mind is not like the unknown and is very uncomfortable in the unknown. There can be an anxiety in living without knowing. So mind continually looks for ways to calm itself and reassure itself, and looks for understanding or a way to make sense out of the journey to create something not seen or previously experienced. It looks to live in the comfort of the illusion it knows what is unfolding when it does not know. Based on the journey of exploration into our creativity, I found 3 ways the human mind can experience a truly original, never before experienced creation. There may be other ways, but these are the 3 that I found and I personally experienced, and each involved the human mind in a different way. One way is unconsciously, a second way is mind needs to unlearn and burn off its beliefs, and the third way is mind is totally useless until mind gains the minimum set of experiences. Feeling the flow of energy given rise to the creation is the only way to proceed until those experiences were gained. Then and only then can the human mind step in and be of benefit. Otherwise, the human mind will simply be doing experiments to try and see what works. The first way where the new, original, never before experienced creation is experienced unconsciously is our life as a human. Our life is a new creation never before experienced. No one lived our life previously. No one will experience or live our life after we're gone. Our life is totally unknown and original. We, of course, with our human mind, thinks we know how the body will grow and unfold, and often think we know and understand how our life itself will also unfold. We look at others and think our life will be similar. The assumption appears to be generally true and reasonably valid in many situations. So our mind latches on to those observations, and mind thinks it knows. Yet each body is unique. Each body will unfold in its uniqueness. Additionally, our perceptions of what we are experiencing is unique. Yet our human mind continually persists in thinking we know and cannot know what our life is about or how it should unfold. This uncertainty about life gives rise to an anxiety about life. We each need to deal with this anxiety in our own way. Usually mind distracts itself and does not pay attention to any anxiety it may feel about life. Unfortunately, sometimes if one feels too much anxiety, some will try and numb it through an addiction or two. Or we keep ourselves busy and never pay attention to the anxiety we have about the unknown. The best way I observe to address our life is to learn to align with the creative flow of energy, our creative life energy. Here it needs to be understood we incarnated into human life to have certain experiences and to fulfill a role in the orchestration of creation. The flow of our creative life energy, which gives life to our body and energizes our life, will carry us to those experiences. Additionally, it will provide the health we need to have those experiences. However, we need to learn to follow its flow and where it desires to lead us. Other than our life, I have not observed any other creations of which we become aware that manifest in an unconscious manner. Quite simply, if we become aware of the possible existence of the creation and have some idea of its endpoint, it's no longer unconscious. Relative to our life, we have no idea where it is going and what the endpoint looks like. We may think we do, but we usually do not. The other 2 forms of a new, original, never before experienced creation are vision, images, or ideas. One form is a vision, idea, or image that we receive, and our mind thinks it understands the vision and thinks it knows how to manifest it. Here our human mind perceives what it thinks the vision, image, or idea is all about, but in reality it has no experience to understand it other than the way which seems obvious. Any response would be based upon the individual's experience and understanding from their life up to the time the individual received the vision, image, or idea. Our human mind continually persists in thinking it knows what needs to be done. As such, we need to burn off our mind's understanding and misconceptions about what needs to be done to create it. Often there is a need to explore what beliefs, biases, and perceptions that need to be shed to see the true nature of the vision, image, or idea to be created. In this case, the mind will continually persist in trying to determine the outcome and direction as to how the creation should unfold. The example where I experienced this new, original, never-before experienced creation would be in the request I received, "Who will protect my children?" I assumed it was obvious. I understood who the children were, but I needed to take a long journey before I understood and could fulfill the request. The second form is we may have an image, idea, or a vision and may or may not understand it, but we have no idea what needs to be done to manifest it. Here it's about holding the vision, image, or idea with an unwavering faith and trust and listen to our intuition as to how it directs what we should do or the direction to travel. In this case, the human mind will continually look to make sense out of the journey. The human mind will use what it thought the vision, image, or idea is about, using the past experience in the context of when the vision, image, or idea was received at that point in time. At these times, our mind never dreamed or imagined there could be another way to characterize the energy. The human mind believes what the human mind thinks, but the human mind knows it does not understand. No matter what it tries, it becomes a false start. In this case, carrying the vision, image, or idea is like standing on the banks of a river and being able to see the river and say the river will flow into the sea and there will be a mouth to the river as it enters the sea. But what the mouth looks like you don't know because you've never been there, but you know it's there, for that is where the water is flowing. The example here is I experienced in the concept of the gentle phoenix. Here I held the vision of the attributes until over the years I obtained the minimum set of experiences to understand how it was created. The need to hold our creativity sacred and allow ourselves to explore options and our perceptions may be incorrect. The most important concept utilized in the journey of exploration of our creativity and key to the journey was the creativity perspective. The creativity perspective is a perspective where creativity, our creativity, the creativity of others is held sacred. Our creativity is ultimately our most valuable asset. This can be seen from two perspectives. One perspective is our creativity can get us out of any situation in which we find ourselves. The other perspective is our creativity is the doorway and our access point to the divine essence of creation. That is, our creativity has the possibility to allow our awareness to swim in and be one with the divine creative essence of creation. Both of these perspectives are possible when we hold our creativity sacred. So what does it mean to say our creativity and the creativity of others is held sacred? It's simply to look at where and why one is not allowed to explore and pursue possible options. It is to look at where is one not free to explore. Simply said, it's about answering the question, why this way versus any other way for any given situation. The reason why one may not be allowed to explore options in a given situation can be varied, but the creativity perspective boils down to exploring that why and pulling the string to get to the root cause of why one is thinking a particular way that exists and one is unable to explore a particular option. Holding our creativity sacred can be seen in four ways. One way our creativity is held sacred is to give it the freedom to explore options. That is, no limits and no boundaries on our exploration. It is much like spontaneous and innocent childlike play of a very young child to discover itself and the world in which it inhabits before mind steps in with its judgments. The second way our creativity is held sacred is to remove the obstacles or reasons which prevent an exploration in a given direction or provide a way to work around the obstacles or reasons preventing the exploration. Often working around the obstacles is about addressing perceived hazards in the direction one thinks or feels they must explore for whatever reason they have. The third way our creativity is held sacred is to not curtail or block the freedom of exploration and not place obstacles, barriers, or even thoughts that inhibit our creativity. The fourth way is to look to empower and expand the creativity available to oneself or another. Here, it is not about giving freedom, removing obstacles, or curtailing the freedom of exploration. Here, it's about providing the understanding or circumstances which in some way expand the individual's creativity. Analogously, it is like an individual is confined to 2 dimensions. They have the freedom to explore the whole 2 dimensions and/or face the obstacles they encounter in 2 dimensions. However, if you point out to them there is a 3rd dimension, all of a sudden, their creative options infinitely expand in a completely new direction, no longer bound by 2 directions. The creativity perspective is a perspective from which to view life that empowers our creative ability. To hold creativity sacred, our own creativity or that of another, is to protect and address our true creative needs. All else is seen malleable and can be changed to protect and address those needs. The creativity perspective looks to see what serves or does not serve our creativity and to look to create a life worth living. Within the creativity perspective, we look for a way to view creation where our creativity is unbounded and is free to unfold true to itself. Of course, each of us will have to spend some time exploring what our creativity looks like and how it desires to express itself, for its expression will be different for each individual, for we each are unique, infinitely creative beings. The recommendation for your own life is to embrace an optimum creativity perspective for yourself in a way that works for you. Now, one may say, what about the hazards or dangers that may exist? The creativity perspective is not about denying the existence of hazards and dangers. Rather, it's about addressing the hazards and dangers as understood and implement protective and safety measures as understood. Granted, in a truly creative endeavor where the mind has not been before, there may be unseen hazards, so it is prudent to proceed slowly in an aware and awake manner. Every advancement made by humanity has had to face the possibility of unknown hazards. One thing relative to potential hazards is the need to have the freedom to explore all possible options within one's creative imagination and understand why any one can or cannot be possible. There are many rules and conditions placed on us as human beings that bias the way we think. The challenge is to get past the limitations of our own thinking to see what is possible, then eliminate possibilities only after they are truly explored. This means not judging any possibility until it's explored. Here again, it is about holding our creativity sacred, and that means the freedom to explore options. Many options may be rejected for whatever reason that may be, but the key here is to be able to explore the options. Often people are afraid to explore options for fear of being wrong or judged unsuccessfully. However, in a truly creative endeavor, there are no mistakes. There are only learning experiences as to what does and does not work under a given set of conditions. Only in the exploration do we come to understand what is and what is not possible. If we limit our exploration before we try, we will never know what is possible. Although one can live their life from the creativity perspective, most will find it beneficial to adopt the creativity perspective to assist them in solving the problems they face. Then, when they find an acceptable solution, they can return to their normal perspective and live their life from the normal perspective. However, if you wish to go beyond the world in which you find yourself, you may want to consider what living with a creativity perspective all the time will provide you. Now, it also needs to be noted that we said that our human mind is unable to fully understand creation, and any perspective it takes can be incomplete, inaccurate, or even in error. Using the creativity perspective gives us the option to explore what we believe and look to see if there are error or if there is a more correct way or a more expansive way for any perspective or belief we hold. The orchestration within creation and our individual role to play. In the discussion on the circumstances giving rise to the request, "Who will protect my children?" it was stated the tone of the voice was, "Who else is there to protect my children?" The tone puzzled me, for I did not see how or why there would be anything special about me. Only in time did I come to understand there is an orchestration within creation, and given our incredible uniqueness, we each have certain gifts or talents that only we can offer. We each are needed in a larger orchestration. We each have a unique part to play. Based on the journey of exploration into our creativity, I want to emphasize we each have a life path, and we each have a role we incarnated to play in a larger orchestration of creation. If you wish, you can look at the total number of individual cells in the human body. The number of cells is estimated to be about 28 to 36 trillion cells, depending on the body size. Each of these cells has a role and a function in the body. Otherwise, it would not be needed. So too each of us. We each have a unique role in a large orchestration within creation. Given there are about 8 billion humans on the planet today, and if each is a cell in a larger organization in creation, the larger organization of what humans are a part. The human role is rather small compared to the analogous human body representing the orchestration within creation. 8 billion is a small percentage when we understand 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. The organization within creation as compared to the human body is an organization of creation 1,000 times larger than the collective individual 8 billion cells each human would and does represent. In essence, at best, 8 billion humans analogously represents an organ of a large body of creation. Nevertheless, as each cell in the human body, each human does have a specific role or part to play in a vast creation like an individual cell in the human body. Our challenge is, do we live our role or do we get diverted for whatever reason it may be, such that the gift we have to offer in playing our role never gets delivered? Are not cancerous cells just cells that have lost their purpose? Are humans who lose their purpose an analogous cancerous cell? Hence, one reason why each of our creative spirits need to be protected and our creative spirit nurtured. The nurturing is to preserve our ability, to develop the ability to bring our unique gifts into the world rather than becoming a cancerous entity. If there's one message with which I would hope to leave you with, it is that in hearing about how my life unfolded in the journey of exploration of our creativity, it is hope you realize your life is similarly guided and you are being groomed for what you incarnated to do, regardless of what your mind may think about your life, what you think you need to do in life, and the troubles you face in life. We need to understand our life path and our reason for incarnating is the manifestation of the orchestration within creation. As stated earlier in the discussion of our life path, relative to the life we live, if someone asked us, what's your life really about, we would reply with our life story. There would be a story we tell about our life and the events we experience that reflect what we think our life is about. However, what our life is really all about can best be described by the story of the honeybee, which I repeat here. If you would ask the honeybee, what is the story of your life, it would probably tell you about making honey. It would go into a discussion of the issues and problems it faces in flying to the flowers to get the nectar and pollen, then flying back to deposit in the hive. It would probably tell us how successful it felt in what it gathered or how disappointed it was in not being able to get all that it desired. We could be assured it would tell us about the issues in the hive and how the queen shows favoritism. Then again, the honeybee may be perfectly content in everything that happens, for it does not have a human mind to think about such things and make judgments. However, no matter what story the honeybee tells and how it tells it, its story does not reflect the accuracy of all that the bee does. The story would most probably not tell us how it pollinates the flowers in the process of gathering nectar and pollen to make honey. That piece would only be seen if one stepped back beyond the perspective of the bee and making honey. It is to stand back and ask the question, is there something that occurs in this process of gathering nectar and pollen to make honey? So too our lives and the story we tell. We are like the honeybee. Our lives are orchestrated by creation within a larger picture, like the honeybee pollinating the flowers as it does its job of gathering nectar and pollen for the hive. In the same way the honeybee is following its internal guidance, which many would call its instinct, it does its job within the larger orchestration of creation and the role it elected to play in unawareness. So too all of us. If we follow our internal guidance, which is much more than the word instinct implies, we perform what role we have within the larger orchestration of creation. However, our mind perceives things differently. Our mind sees our life from the perspective of the life we are living and how that life affects us personally here and now, and how it perceives itself to fit into the world and what success looks like to the world. Our human mind rarely sees exactly how we are impacting our environment and those in our environment, or there is a larger, more encompassing journey we are on that transcends our particular current life. Yet there are things our life impact of which we have no knowledge or understanding. The story we tell will not accurately reflect who and what we are and what we are really doing with and in our lives, but it's only in telling our story we can become aware of what we really do. It is only in telling the story and then standing back and looking at the story, its context and its interactions with all the other pieces that we can begin to see our true journey in life. If we are observant and able to truly talk to individuals whose life our life touches, we can begin to see the true depth and breadth of what our life causes or is the occasion to happen or not happen, as the case may be. The more we follow our internal guidance and stand back and look, the more we can begin to see the true reason why we are here. It is interesting, in many individuals who report having a near-death experience report a past life review. In this review, some report seeing how their life affected others, even from the perspective of the other. But we need not die to have such a review. We can do it any time in our life if we're able to stand back from taking our life personally and look at the actual interactions to see what is happening. To see this larger picture, one needs to be willing to pull the string and look at the chain of events that led to the experience one has. Then look inward to see what decisions and choices we made and why that corresponds to the external chain of events. The uniqueness and subjectivity of our perception and the need to discern our personal truth. The importance of the uniqueness of our being is better understood in realizing our life path reflects there is an orchestration within creation. The universe orchestrates our life for a bigger picture it wishes us to fulfill. We all have a role to play. If one looks at their life carefully and observes how they can see the universe orchestrated our life to have the experiences we do and the synchronicity in experiences to lead us from one experience to the next, and each significant change in direction in our life is often accomplished by a restlessness within our being. In this case, the energy within our being would push us in a new direction, or some event occurs in our life changing the direction of our life. The orchestration is reflected in each of us having a life path and a role to play in creation. Our life path encompasses our reason for incarnating, and we each carry unique gifts and talents we have to give. Additionally, we are provided an internal compass to keep us aligned with our life path if we listen to the internal guidance it provides. Here we need to understand the solutions we seek to address all the problems we face in our life lie within our creative passion. Additionally, the solutions we need to solve the world's problem lie within the creative passion of some individual and is reflective of the gifts they came to give. We each carry within our creative spirit and its creative passion the solution we need. It is important to understand we each are incredibly unique and all that we experience is subjective. No one sees and experiences creation as we do. No one has our pain. No one has our joy. No one can dispute our unique subjective perception of creation. For any experience we have, each of our perceptions are subjective, and no one can prove or disprove what we are seeing and experiencing. Whether or not anybody agrees with our subjective unique perception is another issue. Given the nature of the human being, such that from the very beginning we needed to depend on others to care and feed us, we continually look to fit in some way with others. Given the uniqueness and subjectiveness of our perceptions, we either attempt to get others to see what we do or why we do, or we buy into and accept the perception of other individuals so that we can feel we have agreement with another or others. When we buy into another's perception, we do so with the possibility of denying our own truth. Unless we check to see if what another sees resonates with us and aligns with what we feel relative to the flow of our own creative life energy, we will be denying ourselves in some way. It is vital that we learn to discern what is true for us and serve our being. We need to become aware of what resonates within us and is it in alignment with who we are, for it is only in our uniqueness we can bring forth the unique gifts we possess. We need to eat and digest all that we are told, keeping what serves us and resonates within us, nourishing us, and then discard the remainder like we do any food. The question is, does what we take and use from others really serve us? To address what serves us, it is essential we hold our creativity and that of any other sacred. It is to become aware of what we eat and digest and take into our being. Does what we are told within our being allow us to hold our creativity sacred and serve our truth and our uniqueness? Do we keep what serves us and nourishes us and discard what is not useful? It is clear from the journey of exploration into our creativity, the human mind is incapable of contemplating the vastness and diversity of creation. In fact, relative to our creativity, it appears the human mind is limited in 4 ways. One way is whatever we perceive, it is subjective. As such, there is often no one or no reference to which we can refer to get clear understanding of what it is we experienced. We often think another person has the same or very similar experience, but that may or may not be the case. This also leads to the second limitation of the human mind. Whatever we experience, the human mind interprets based on its past experiences. Often we have experiences where we do not have sufficient prior experience to fully understand and comprehend what we are experiencing or experienced. The third limitation of the human mind is that the human mind is incapable of fully comprehending the vastness, diversity, and details of creation. It is limited to the particular view or experience it has in a given moment. The fourth limitation is the human mind is very narrowly focused and may reveal exquisite details about an aspect of creation, but it is only an aspect of creation and one based solely on the particular view or perspective the mind had. The best our mind can do is to give an explanation that is created by our creative imagination, which is only an approximation to what it can come to understand based on the experiences it has had. Some approximations are better than others for a given understanding, and in some situations the approximation is quite powerful, but will be in some way be incomplete. As we gain experience in how we see and how we choose to experience what is before us, our perspective will change based upon these new experiences. Also, often when we perceive a perception about the unseen, our mind characterizes it in an analogy or something symbolic, for it cannot fully grasp what it is seen or experienced. Mind does not have sufficient words and experiences to properly characterize it. This is also true for any creative endeavor one has never previously seen or experienced, since our mind has not been there to know what to expect. What this boils down to is, as a human being, each of us are creating our own personal experiences of reality. The process starts with an experience we have that originates in sensing an energy at some level of our being. If we are aware, we experience it as a feeling. We then respond and react to what we feel based upon any reflex action, as in responding to a pain or a thought that may arise. Any thoughts that do arise are based on our mind's characterization or interpretation of the energy we are experiencing. The characterization is based upon our past experiences, what we believe, what we think, and any interpretation we have in response to what we are experiencing. No matter how accurate we think we have characterized what we experience, in some way it is inaccurate. This also applies to what we experience as intuition, inner knowing, or something channeled or divine inspiration. This is why sometimes we get an intuitive insight, and when we act on it, it does not seem to be correct, but normally a clarification or further insight is provided. Whether we are aware of it or not, we experience reality as it is in the moment we are experiencing it. What we perceive in the moment and how we respond to that moment is our choice. How we choose to respond in the moment may or may not change the reality we experience. Yet the change in reality may not be immediate, but it can change as a result of how we choose to respond. Now, 2 questions then arise. First is, do we know what is true for us and serves who and what we think we are? That is, are we experiencing that present moment in a way that we are satisfied with what life is giving us, and or are we energized by life itself? How we are feeling does have a bearing on how we choose. The second question is, do we possess beliefs that empower us to create a life worth living and enable us to access what we sense and feel to the depth and breadth of our creative power and creative ability available to us in the moment? Or do we disempower ourselves and perceive ourselves as not up to the task which is being presented to us? The recommendation here is to hold your creativity and that of any other sacred, as discussed in the creativity perspective. Do your own experiments to find out how much creative power and creative ability you have. Probably the biggest aspect of holding our creativity sacred is to have the possibility of exploring options where we were previously unable to explore options and choices. There is the need to continually seek to look past the mind's understanding, to look for where its understanding is incorrect. It is very important that we each learn to discern what is true for us. Otherwise, we will be unable to express our truth and the unique gifts we have to offer. Everything created by humans arose from a single thought from an individual's unique subjective perception. It's very important to understand for everything that exists that has not been created by what humans would call God, or not created by nature, started as a single thought in the mind of a single individual. Everything goes back to a unique subjective perception an individual had of themselves and creation. Does not matter what it is. Anything created by a human goes back to a single thought and experience of one person, given rise to the thought residing and unfolding in any creation developed by the humans. All of it. This means every spiritual or religious belief, any social custom or way of being, any form of government, any scientific principle, any medical or healing practice. Doesn't matter what it is. It all started as a thought in a unique subjective mind of an individual. When communicated, others simply accepted that thought and built or acted on that thought, and before we realize it, we have manifested all that humans have brought into existence. But the thought that gives rise to what humans create still started in the mind of a single unique subjective perception of an individual. To say a single thought can change the world is not an understatement. A single thought of a human mind has changed the world repeatedly, and it needs to be noted that single thought arose from a very unique and subjective perception within a single individual. Others may have bought into that thought that changed the world because it appeared to work for them. The question is, who is carrying those original subjective thoughts that can provide the world with the solutions we seek? It could be you, but you must live your uniqueness before it can be fully manifested. Living our truth and our uniqueness allows us to give our gifts to the world. For after all, the thought you may have may be the seed that changes the world. You are that powerful, whether you believe it or not. The illusion of the human mind. Relative to any thought we have, what needs to be understood, any thought we have arising from the experience of a flow of energy will have two parts. The thought has a real part and an imaginary part. The real part is a result of the flow of energy that is giving rise to the experience we have and is what we feel in the experience. The feeling is real. This is relatively easy to understand. The imaginary part is our interpretation of the experience of that flow of energy through the illusion of mind. The illusion of mind is what mind uses all that it has within itself without thinking of how it will characterize the energy. It appears to look at all the information it has and looks for the best fit to match up the energy it experiences. The more the energy is different than anything it previously experienced, the greater the inaccuracy in the characterization. There's also the issue if the characterization of the energy is based upon accurate information in the person's mind, but the illusion aspect is more about the options in how the energy is characterized. It is an illusion because, given different past experiences, a different environment, different beliefs, and a different way of thinking, we could characterize the experience of that energy differently. Hence, our interpretation and characterization is somewhat illusionary and unreal. It may be very logical with extremely good basis for the characterization and may be very effective as to what can be done with the thought created, but is nonetheless imagined by our mind. The thought is imaginary. Because we change a few fundamental beliefs and our perception changes, and we tell a different story. For example, we experience the sun seeming to rise in the morning and set in the evening. Depending on what we think and believe, the sun rises and sets. Or we could say the earth rotates if we understand the rotation of the earth. So we can say believing the sun rises and sets is illusionary and say the earth rotates is real. But suppose a new phenomenon is discovered and provide some explanation about how the earth appears to rotate. Assume this new understanding is about the warping of the gravitational field bends the light from the sun such that it makes the earth seem to rotate, but it does not rotate. Would you believe the new understanding or hold on to the old story? What proof or authority would you need to change your view? In any case, how our mind characterizes the experience of any flow of energy may or may not be correct. However, our creative imagination, if we are able to transcend the limits and barriers we impose on our own thinking, we can explore options with the energy we sense, even if we haven't correctly characterized it. We can observe the energy under different scenarios we create within our creative imagination. More importantly, we can create scenarios like rituals, metatheaters, going to different environments and the like to gain new experiences to better characterize any energy we access. In doing so, we can gain better insights as to what is possible to manifest in physical creation. Most importantly, what needs to be understood about our creative endeavors is that our thoughts never really stretch our mind to what is possible. Most do not move past the limits and barriers imposed by mind, so we never make those, quote, quantum leaps in creative thinking that are truly transformative for us and our world. The reason for this is mind uses the past to characterize what it sees. When it comes to a truly creative endeavor, something or some experience never before experienced, in this case, mind is of little value. To become truly creative, we need to step out of mind and allow ourselves to surrender to what we feel to get past the limits of the past experiences of mind. In these cases of a truly new creative endeavor, how effective mind is in characterizing what is experienced all depends on whether or not we have the minimum set of experiences to properly characterize what we experience. Often it will take some time to understand what we experienced until we get that minimum set of experiences. The need to understand the journey of exploration into our creativity, for it reflects aspects we all face in our life. The journey of exploration into our creativity and looking at how to protect the creativity that lies within each of us is one of, if not the primary reasons for my incarnation. I bring your attention to this not because I have done anything special or I desire some type of praise or ask for acknowledgement. Rather, it is to help you understand as a human we all have a similar journey. My journey, of course, took years for me to understand. And looking at the pieces of the puzzle as to the true nature of our creativity, I come to see how my life path led me to experiences I needed to have from the earliest age. I was literally being groomed by creation for the task I was to do. Although I only became aware of the existence of my life path in my early 50s, the life path I could see it was there from the earliest days of my life. I was able to stay true to my life path to be led to the experiences I needed to have by having the awareness to stay tuned to my internal guidance, which lies outside my ego desires, and actively looking to stay in alignment with my internal guidance. Although when my mind became aware of my life path, my mind was not able to help me follow it. In fact, I had to be rescued many times from my own thinking, which kept getting in the way, as the human mind is extremely good at making decisions about where our life is going, or should be going, or what mind wants our life to be. I had to continue to rely on my internal guidance. After my human mind became aware of the existence of my life path, the journey became an even bit more difficult. Now I had to continually suppress what my mind thought about my life path and the direction I needed to go in my life. My life and its thinking become a major disruption. The reason for this is simple. For any new, original, creative endeavors, something not previously experienced, mind does not have the prior experience to understand what needed to be done. Rather, we have to feel our way by accessing the flow of energy carrying us to the new creation and allow ourselves to experiment to see what works and doesn't work. It became quite clear in working with individuals we all have a life path created before our current mind existed, and we each have an internal guidance system that we can use to stay in alignment with our life path if we learn how to follow it. Here we need to return to the problem of involving the human mind relative to a truly creative endeavor. Repeating what you have heard before, the first most important thing we need to understand and what it means to create. To create means to bring something into existence. To create something lies on a spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, it is to create a copy of something which already exists. At the other end of the spectrum is something completely new and truly original, never before seen or experienced. The role of mind changes dramatically as one moves along this spectrum. If a copy of something is to be created, our mind is very important, for it needs to provide all the details to manifest the exact copy. However, if it is something new and truly original, never before seen or experienced, at the opposite end of the spectrum, our mind has no reference as to what to expect or what it should look like. Hence, mind is of little value. Our mind can guess, it can extrapolate, it can do experiments to see what works and doesn't work, but it does not know. It may know the attributes of what it desires or mind wants to bring into existence, but it is not and cannot know what it will look like. Our mind cannot know, for what is being created has never before been experienced or existed. Additionally, it needs to be noted, our human mind does not like the unknown and is very uncomfortable in the unknown. There can be an anxiety in living with the unknown, so mind continually looks for a way to calm itself and reassure itself and look for understanding or a way to make sense out of the journey to create something not seen or previously experienced. It looks to live in the comfort of the illusion it knows what is unfolding when it does not know. Here an important note needs to be made and understood. Our life is a new creation never before experienced. No one lived our life previously, and no one will experience or live our life after we're gone. Our life is totally unknown and original. We, of course, with our human mind, think we know how the body will grow and unfold, and often think we know and understand how our life itself will also unfold. We look at others and think our life will be similar. The assumption appears to be generally true and reasonably valid in many situations, so our mind latches on to the observations and thinks it knows. Yet each body is unique. Each body will unfold in its uniqueness. Additionally, our perceptions of what we are experiencing is unique. Yet our human mind continually persists in thinking we know and cannot know what our life is about or how it should unfold. This uncertainty about our life gives rise to an anxiety about life. We each deal with this anxiety in our own way. Usually mind distracts itself and does not pay attention to any anxiety it may feel about life. Unfortunately, sometimes if one feels too much anxiety, some will try and numb the anxiety through an addiction or two, or we keep ourselves busy and never pay attention to the anxiety we have about the unknown. Relative to the life we live, we need to understand any creation has true needs. When the true needs are nurtured, the creation will grow into the fullness of what is possible. However, true needs often look different than what mind thinks. The reason why true needs often look very different than what mind expects nurturing to be is quite simple. Much of what is in physical creation is a new and original creation never before seen and experienced. So if what mind is experiencing is an unfolding physical creation, the human mind has not seen or experienced it before, since it's an original creation. Something as simple as running water forming a gully in the soft ground is an original creation, and no one will know what it looks like until it's formed. Did not the Grand Canyon in Arizona start with a relatively small gully somewhere? Relative to nurturing true needs, we need to become very observant and aware. We need to look to see what causes the creation to grow and to unfold. We need to look at ourselves as an unfolding creation and ask what is allowing us to feel the fullness of life within us and allow for the expansion of our being or awareness. Our awareness, which lies in our consciousness, is an infinitely creative awareness. As an infinitely creative being, we need to look to see if what we are doing in life allows our body to feel alive with life and our consciousness expanding in a way that is serving us, or we are withdrawing into a protective shield. Only you know your true needs, and only you can ensure they are nurtured. Are you growing or contracting?